Hi, welcome to the Pursuit of Truth. So I've just been catching up on YouTube videos, and there was one I started watching live, which was on Subtle Infinity's YouTube page, where he had a web chat with D Murphy 25. It's a really good conversation. It's worth listening out for. It's on Subtle Infinity's YouTube, and they talked about a range of things to do with flat Earth, to do with truth, and all sorts of things. But what I came away with was, a few things. But one of the things is when I'm just listening as myself. I can't listen any other way, actually. What a stupid phrase. And there's some things, that I think, yeah, I agree with that, and some things I don't. And then it makes me wonder, well, wait a minute, if I'm doing that, then is everyone doing that? And then it goes back to a previous podcast when I talked about, if there is such a thing as truth. I mean, some things, you can say they're definitively true. Well, I don't know, you say that, and when I was in my head, I was thinking about the example of water being level or flat, but there'll be loads of people, millions of people who will disagree with that and say, well, the oceans bend, even though they don't realise it. But yeah, I was just that whole, how maybe it's just because it's the way that we broadcast, and we're falling into that same trap in the way of putting someone's voice above someone else's, almost creating celebrity, as it were. Like in the media, you have people who will tell you the news. You'll have rock stars, celebrities, actors, and they get following, and what they say, the politicians, has more credence than the ordinary person. The ordinary person couldn't challenge you can challenge a politician, but what I mean is the media will represent the politician as the authority figure, and everyone listening will follow that authority figure without even knowing it, because that's how we've been taught, and that's how the examples that we show seen all the time. And now when we come to Flat Earth, we're doing the same thing on YouTube. So we'll have people that will represent Flat Earth. They have their own YouTube channel. There's lots of big names. I say big names, but not everyone sort of puts themselves up on that plateau, as it were. But it sort of happens, and so then when they say something, people listen to them, and then people naturally form underneath them, because that's another thing that we've been taught. Well, not taught, maybe it has been taught to do, or we just do it naturally as human beings. We collect under people. Maybe that's why we always want to have leaders, and although it seems such a stupid thing in a way, because we're all individuals and none of us has any more authority than another person. We're all actually equal, although we do. The problem is we've been trained, through schooling, through work, to believe that our boss has more authority over us, or our bank manager has more authority over us, or our politician or an MP has more authority over us, or an actor has more authority over us, whereas in actual fact we actually all have the same amount of level. It's just a perception that we've created. It's a false, I was going to say false paradigm, but it's a false equivalence. It's not true that we're absolutely exactly the same, every single fucking one of us, but we don't see that. But it's because of the system that we're within. That's the problem. That's the way the system is. Who would vote for that system? But yes, all of us do. All of us have done at some point, voted for a system that is actually limiting ourselves. But anyway, getting back to this, this idea of that, when I listen to things and then I think, I don't know. Like say, Dave Murphy was going on about the religious aspect, and I am religious. If you begin my podcast at the beginning, you see I'm religious, and as it's gone on, now I'm starting to question faith and religion in the sense that how can I verify it? Because I now know that most of the things that we believe in have or contain some part of a lie or deception. So, and also because we've taken the reason why we're in this situation is because we take things for granted. We've just listened to other people and believed them. How do I know that the words that were written by the real people that they claim to be, and it wasn't just some big psyop, as it were, back in those days to control people? Because it has been used like that through Islam, through Christianity, Hinduism. There's been lots of different religions where the religion has been used to control people and to keep people believing certain things and acting in certain ways. So how do I know that that wasn't done on purpose? The equivalence now would be the TV or the internet. But then I do believe in a creator. The problem is I don't know, is that because I really believe or because, well, I know that if the earth is flat and if all these things that, it makes sense that it would be created, but then of course you have the infinite regress problem. Anyway, let's not get into that. So yeah, it was a really good conversation. I agreed with a lot of it. What I did like about what he said was about how, I think Saul asked him about, there's a lot of people that are sort of hitting a brick wall, and he sort of talked about that, and then people go on to like conjecture and thoughts and ideas, and models, which in some ways you can see is like, that's not a great idea, because then we're sort of latching on to more things that we don't really know. But the problem is that's how humans are, or how we taught humans are, that we can't just limit ourselves to what we know. We have to think about everything. I mean, I don't know lots of things, but I will have conjecture and think about different ideas and try and work things out, and that's how we puzzle things together. So, because I think he believes in a different, I can't remember what model he believes in, but like a lot of people will say that we shouldn't believe in a model because we can't actually prove it, and then we're setting ourselves up for to be easily attacked, because they can say, well, mate, show me the ice walls, or how do the ice walls keep the water in, and does the water drip over, or if there's a dome, where's the edge, or where's the and all that kind of stuff. I think it has its place in the way of trying to work it out, but I think you have to make sure that people are aware that it's a belief and you don't actually know. That's the problem. And that was another thing. When I hear some of the people on YouTube, when they talk with such what's the word I'm looking for? I'm trying to think of the best way to describe it, but with force, as if they speak with with definitives, as if this is exactly how it is. There's no air of doubt in their voice or in their sentencing, which I think is a problem sometimes, because that's the same. You could be misleading people without knowing it, because you may believe something to be true, but you can't prove it, but you're speaking as if it's fact, and that's part of the problem why we're in this situation as it is. So I did have, I don't know if I do it, maybe I do it as well. I probably do when I talk about humans and us being one species and all that kind of thing. I suppose it's difficult for us. I guess that's the thing, we judge these things, and we all have our own, humans have failings, and we do have a way of speaking and our structure. But I'm not attacking Dave or anything like that. What I'm saying is what I come away with when I think about these things, the problems that we all have trying to find the truth, because we all have different ways of looking at things. Like if 100 people listen to that podcast, they're all going to have different views upon it, because they all and maybe at different levels as well. So what chance is there for all the people on the planet to come to a concise, well, maybe that's why nothing's ever sorted out, because you can mislead everyone and distract them for long enough. Which leads me to my next point, distractions. I was thinking about, I can't remember what channel it was, I think it was MTV, it was on, and I saw there was this big concert, and there were like thousands of people listening to this concert, and I was thinking about how us as a species, or the way we are at this present time, that hasn't always been the case, but the way we are now, I can only talk about that because that's all I really know, is that we pay for all these events, to go to these events. You pay to go to a concert. I've been to a concert. You pay to go to a concert. People pay to go to football matches. People pay to go to watch X Factor and ITV Studios, or people pay to do whatever the thing is. People will save up their money to do these things, for entertainment. And that's their hard-earned money that they're paying for, to be entertained and distracted. But when it comes to actual real things that really should matter, people that they could do for free, they won't do it. Like you could change the existence, the realm, the planet, the world you live within for free, but people won't do that because they probably consider that boring. It's a bit like going on a march. People wouldn't do that even though it's free, but they would pay to go and watch someone stand up and distract them for an hour and a half. And that is probably why those things are all there, all the media stuff, because it does work. I mean, whether it's intentional or whether it's a byproduct of just the way that we've evolved ourselves, these medias like music and television and radio and whatever, newspapers, the written word, I mean, they all have their beauties and they all have their place, but a lot of them are bastardized and made just to purely entertain us. And maybe some people, they're not, I'm not saying they're doing it out for some kind of elitist way to try and keep us in our place. I don't know, there's no way of proving that, but just by the fact that we're doing it is distracting us, whether there is an ulterior motive to it or whether it is just natural, the way that we want to, like I used to want to make TV things and write things and stuff and do poems and all sorts because I have an imagination. Now, whether I was taught to be like that, I don't know, or whether that's natural, I don't know. But the fact is that all these things are distracting us, because a lot of people will go to work and then go home and watch television and not realise that their life is passing away and that they're living life vicariously through the television. And it's interesting in a way that, but we don't really realise that, and then we're leaving our children with a world that we've just passively allowed to, even though most of us really must know that this world that we're living in is shit and it's not really great for the people, that for us ourselves, let alone our next generations, and yet we don't do anything about it. We go home and watch television. So whether it's done on purpose or not, it is distracting us as a species from actually sorting the real shit out, as it were. And the other thing I was listening to was Sheeps and Neeps, and he was talking, he had the video from Steve McRae, which was about law, which is really interesting, and about the different ways you can use law for your benefit, and how it is and how unjust it is. And it was a good video worth listening to, Sheeps and Neeps on YouTube. And another thing we've talked about, and I know I've mentioned this, I think I did actually mention it previously before, he was talking about people standing at lights when there's no cars there, and even I must confess I do that, and it's so stupid. I don't do it as much now, but I used to do it a lot, just standing there waiting just to follow, waiting for it to go red and the green man to come on, because that's what we've been taught, isn't it? Follow the green cross code. That's what we were taught. So we were programmed, as children, blatantly programmed to follow that green man and wait for him. And we do it, droves of us. And even, I remember, I think I have told this example, but I was with my wife, who's from South Africa, and it was by this crossing, and I was saying, oh, let me press the button. Why did you press the button? You've got to press the button, then the lights will change. But it's automatic. because I found that out now, that if you stand there long enough, you notice that it is automatic, it does it itself. So actual pressing of the button makes no fucking difference whatsoever, but I'll still go and press it. And she explained to me that it doesn't, it's automatic. And that she could, maybe because they're not so brainwashed as we are in the West as children, had her own discernment to know that, if it's red and the cars are stopped, you can just cross. You don't need to press the button, you can just wait for it, or just cross if there is a time to cross when the cars are all stopped or there's no cars there. But me, I'm so programmed that I was pressing a button to light up this thing in the belief that it was actually doing something, but it's automatic. But that just goes to show how programmed we are. What else are we programmed about? Because that's just one thing that has been, obviously all of us can think about that. We all know we were, I don't know if the generations after me, but I was taught the Green Cross Code, man. I wonder what other things, that we've all been taught through those years and up to date. And then it makes you think about, well, wait a minute, we've been, whether these things were taught for our benefit, we're still acting within a system, like robots, as it were, just free-thinking robots. But aren't we more than that? Shouldn't we be more than that? Take care, take it easy. God bless and peace.